Ich grüße euch und heiße euch wieder herzlich willkommen. Heute schauen wir uns zusammen Total War PHARAOH Ägypten Faction Deep Dive an, also ein tieferer Einblick in die ägyptischen Fraktionen. Und ich dachte, heute kommt ein Video über Seti, der hier vorgestellt worden ist, aber wie ihr seht, ist nicht so. Und der gute Seti, der hier vorgestellt worden ist, der ist bekannt für seine aggressive Haltung. Bei Spielstil haben wir hier versucht, Gegner im Kampf zu bewältigen, schnelle und einfache Erweiterung, kein Interesse an Diplomatie. Also das ist so der aggressivste von denen, die wir bisher gesehen haben. Und er hat eine hohe Anzahl billigerer, schwächerer Einheiten, Verbrauchseinheiten. Es besteht die Gefahr, dass die Einheiten nach Verlusten zur Neige gehen. Der wurde jetzt hier vorgestellt als 4. Charakter. Und jetzt schauen wir uns den tieferen Einblick an in Ägypten.
Egypt, the land of the pharaohs, one of the greatest civilizations ever known. A new age awaits. As Meneptah's final years are upon us, the eyes of the Egyptian court and its people look to the prospective new leaders of their land. These leaders will be the characters you get to command in Total War Pharaoh. But how do the Egyptians play? How will they stem the tide of the Hittites, the Canaanites, and the Sea Peoples, as well as the collapse of the Bronze Age? A quick note before we begin, Total War Pharaoh is currently in development, so things
Ja, war ja klar.
may change between this video and release. The UI colors are also a bit different from usual here, as I've got colorblind options applied to help out, as I don't see some colors all that well. With this quick disclaimer out of the way, let's dive into the Egyptian factions. The prospective pharaohs of Egypt all have their own histories and links to Meneptah and the pharaoh's crown. On the border of Canaan in Sinai, we have Ramesses, begotten of the sun god Ra. Ramesses is young, ambitious, and ready to follow the path of greatness shared by his namesake, Ramesses II.
Ja, ich hoffe, die spielen sich auch wirklich alle sehr unterschiedlich, weil ansonsten wäre es schnell monoton.
A martial prodigy, Ramesses' youth brings him a speed and capability not shared by other characters. He'll need to utilize both of these in order to deal with the incursions at the Canaan border from the great raider, Ursu, whilst being aware of the dark cloud on the horizon. Further along the river in Hardai, Seti, the son of Meneptah, skirmished.
Das ist der, den wir jetzt schon vorgestellt bekommen haben, beziehungsweise heute.
With the western desert tribes to prove his martial superiority and worthiness for the crown. While he's next in line to the throne by birthright, he would rather prove his worthiness with a display of power, a language he knows better than the parlance of the courts. Tauseret, on the other hand, has a very different approach to power than the other leaders. It's not about
Die haben wir beim letzten Mal gesehen, das war die mit den Streitwagen.
God-given rights or grandstanding, but having the keen mind and knowledge you will be a better pharaoh than them. A methodical genius, Tauseret's strength lies in her intelligence. She starts in the deserts of Yebu in Upper Egypt. Through synergizing her provinces to bolster her economy, and working alongside Seti and whoever else she can sway to her line of thinking, she can maintain the majesty of this ancient empire. And lastly, down in the south, we have Amenmess, the Viceroy of Kush. Whilst Amenmess is the eldest male heir, Seti is the designated heir. As powerful as a title like Viceroy of Kush may be, it's not nearly as powerful or attractive as Pharaoh. Being the Viceroy of Kush does come with its benefits.
Der klang jetzt irgendwie bisher am schwersten oder irgendwie weiß ich nicht, irgendwie ein bisschen anders als die anderen eben.
However, benefits like control over Egypt's gold mines. Amenmess knows that the true power over man isn't blood, but money. And he'll use this truth to fight his way back up to Meneptah, buying whoever he can to take back what he believes is rightfully
Achso, seine Stärke ist das Geld oder kann andere kaufen, okay.
his. With our leaders set on the stage, let's take a quick look at what makes them mechanically unique in their grab for power. Each journey to the pharaoh's crown can take a multitude of paths, playing to their individual strengths. Starting with Ramesses, as a militaristic leader, he is an exceptionally capable warrior, efficient with any weapon handed to him. His elite warrior status is something also shared by his armies, as while they are smaller in number, they are stronger and more elite than your average foot soldier.
Ja, finde ich eigentlich interessant, dass man mal so einen Anführer hat, der mit jeder Waffe umgehen kann. Hatte man ja bisher noch gar nicht. Und es ist auf jeden Fall was Neues mal.
Not only does he wield incredible martial prowess, but he also harbors incredible speed, both on the field and in the courts. Per turn, he gets 2 court actions, while other leaders only receive 1. His unique buildings also factor his standing within the court and amongst his people. The necropolis of the honored dead bolsters happiness and influence within provinces. The wine markets also improve happiness. As one would imagine, the military academy brings out the best in his men.
Ja, Ramses ist so der klassische Anführer eben, der so ziemlich von jedem etwas hat. Ich glaube, mit dem ist es am einfachsten.
Raising recruitment rates and making generals cheaper to recruit. It also fortifies the soldiers with a steady amount of experience, ensuring they do not head into the field greener than their counterparts. Seti, meanwhile, in many ways runs as an opposite to Ramesses. He cares little for the court and prefers to speak in a language
Er scheißt einfach auf alles.
he understands fluently. War. Thankfully for him, he starts with an improved standing with Tausret.
Das war's auch schon. Der war ja nicht lange da. Ja, er versteht nur den Krieg. Also das ist so der, bei Warhammer würde ich jetzt sagen, das ist so der Korn-Charakter, ja.
Who understands the courts and diplomacy like the back of her hand. His starting army is large, and he begins his journey near all 5 resource settlement types, meaning he can kickstart his economy quite early, provided he removes whoever is controlling those settlements nearby. Seti's unique buildings exemplify his love for war, his depiction of ego, and his genuine lack of care for what anyone else thinks. The mustering office increases recruitment slots, as well as decreasing the cost of enlisting troops within a province. The Recruitment Administration Center further drives down
Das ist ein bisschen verwirrend. Jetzt sind wir doch wieder bei Seti.
recruitment costs, whilst allowing you to train more troops, at the expense of the new enlist's well-being. Meanwhile, the Tax Administration Palace continues its own way of obtaining spoils of war from amongst the populace, increasing production greatly at the cost of workforce growth and happiness. Lastly, there's Seti's Royal Palace, showcasing the kind of boisterous nature befitting of a prospective pharaoh of his stature.
Diplomatische Beziehungen -5. Jo, das war klar. Moral +2, Legitimation +3. Oh, Einfluss bekommt er immerhin auch. Okay.
His troops look on with improved morale, whilst all other factions look upon it as unnecessary grandstanding from a potential tyrant. Tausret, meanwhile, understands the importance of structure and production lines, especially in trying times such as these. She starts with improved diplomatic relations with Seti, meaning she may gain assistance.
Also Tausret und Seti, das ist eine gute Kombination, ja, das wird hier auch gesagt. Also falls ihr eine Koop-Kampagne spielen wollt, ihr habt ihr 2, die sehr gut zueinander passen.
From Seti's forces. Militaristic might isn't Tausret's main strength or plan, however. It's production. While her unique structures may not bring happiness and joy to her people, they are a necessary slight. The provisioning headquarters, Tausret's armory, Tausret's goldsmiths, and the storage center all provide their own powerful buffs, but they really begin to shine when you plan out your construction. Her machinations can be fragile, but once Tausret gets the ball rolling, she is a power with a momentum that cannot be stopped. Lastly, we have Amen-Mes. As Viceroy of Kush, he has sway over his Egyptian counterparts, as he starts already with a standing within the Egyptian courts. His unique
Er hat schon so einen Hof bekommen, okay. Gleich von Anfang an.
structures symbolize his standing, as both a power over the Kushite people and as a man who recognizes gold's strength. The Kushite Delegate School may be looked down upon by Amenmes's people, but it fosters growth in the workforce within the province, alongside increasing production, as well as improving diplomatic relations with non-Egyptian factions. The Hidden Rooms
Das ist dann so eher so der Diplomatiespieler.
also provide a great boost in all resources, happiness, and even legitimacy to the throne at a very heavy cost of gold. But this cost means little to Amenmes, considering he has access to the gold mine labor villages. The amount of gold produced by this structure is very high, and while influence may drop at the horrific reality of gold's manufacture, that's of no consequence when he can pay someone to look the other way. The lands of Egypt.
Er ist halt so der Diplomatie-Kommandant, beziehungsweise Anführer, der auch gerne mal kauft, ja, auch Truppen.
Egypt are vast. The Egyptians are masters of desert and surgical strike warfare. The units native to each region of Egypt bring their own strengths to conflict. If you wish to bring these units into your armies, you'll need to either branch out your conquest to these locations and take them by force, or foster diplomacy, alliances, confederation, and vassalization. On the border of Canaan, you'll find the Sinai and Reaktion militia. Their forces contain a mixture of both quite
Also jetzt gibt es einen Einblick in die näheren Einheiten.
expendable units to hold lines or harass, and very valuable additions to bolster your damage output. Being on the border of Canaan, they do have many units in medium armor to stand toe-to-toe with Canaanite forces, and some of their number also have decent armor piercing and breaking capabilities. In Lower Egypt, there's a decent mix of melee and ranged units to be found. This mix, however, does come at a bit of a cost, as they are not what you would particularly consider to be fine or noteworthy. They aren't a write-off, however, as many in their number have resistance to heat, and while they may lack skill...
Ja, das mit der Hitzeresistent, das kann, glaube ich, sehr gut sein, weil wir wissen ja, auf den Schlachtfeldern, da ändert sich halt oftmals auch die klimatische Situation, und wenn da so eine Einheit ankommt mit Hitzeresistent und es ist dann gerade eine Hitzewelle, dann ist es natürlich schon entscheidend, ne?
They do make up for this in number, perfect for any would-be warrior pharaohs wanting strength in overwhelming numbers. In contrast, the forces of Upper Egypt are a potentially very powerful addition to your defensive garrisons. Many Upper Egyptian melee units utilize medium armor, with the occasional light armored units to harass and provoke any enemy unwise to stand against them. This doesn't mean they're a slouch when it comes to offense, however. Like the rest of the Egyptian forces, they do have speed on their side, and they're exceptionally capable flankers, meaning they're able to deal big damage while holding out against any attackers of their own. In the deserts to the west,
Die Einheiten kommen mir bisher alle ziemlich flink vor, weil die alle fast gar nichts anhaben. Aber okay, es gibt natürlich welche, die sind noch flinker.
lie the Lebu tribesmen and the West Desert natives. The Lebu tribesmen forces are unparalleled desert warriors, fighting on sand as though it were mere ground. Resilient to the sweltering heat of high noon, they can march unharmed
Also die haben anscheinend auch diese Hitzeresistenz.
through attrition zones in the desert, and the blistering sandstorms that cross the dunes
Auch so Sandstürme können den auch nichts anhaben.
do little to affect their combat prowess. They are the masters of the deserts, and when war reaches through the land and the sandstorms roll in, you'd better pray to whoever you worship that they're on your side. And in the south of the map, you'll find the Nubian and Kushite forces. The Kushites and Nubians are primarily built around the strength of their archers. They have expendable units who can harass and keep enemies preoccupied, whilst archers with exceptional range rain down the arrows. The archers can also be defended with other units from this region, as there's decently skilled and armoured spearmen and clubmen amongst their ranks. And lastly, there are the Pharaoh elite. When you take the crown, you'll have
Die sehen auch gleich ein bisschen, ja, die sehen schon deutlich anders aus, die Elitetruppen vom Pharao.
access to some of the best of the best. Highly disciplined fighters, adorned in medium armor. Having just one of these units among
Das sind zum Beispiel auch solche Typen. Naja, die haben schon andere Waffen.
amongst others can turn the tides of battle in your favor. It's not just the lands who bring units into play. Each leader comes with their own troops, unique to their army, playing to their strengths. But Ramesses' unique forces very much build upon his strengths as a leader. The Medjay and Shurden that make up Ramesses' forces may not have the numbers that other factions exhibit, but their status as elite warriors who can adapt to whatever situation is before them makes them a very formidable force.
Ja, ich glaube, sie versuchen das, also das sieht zumindest hier danach aus, sie versuchen das so wie bei Warhammer zu machen, dass wirklich auch jeder Anführer mit seiner eigenen Armee sich komplett anders spielen lässt.
Fast and adept at flanking, many of his troops also have the underdog trait, meaning they thrive in fighting against multiple units at once, potentially outnumbered but rarely outclassed. Ramesses' retinue are a balanced and highly capable force. The levy soldiers that make up Seti's unique forces combine well with how he prefers to wage war. The lower tier units that make up his unique retinue compensate for their lack of skill with enhanced numbers, and, from a pragmatic view, the expendable trait. Seti's more elite troops won't rout, or potentially care upon seeing the lower tier units meet the jackals of Anubis. The more elite units in his personal militia are highly capable warriors, if a tad undisciplined. Many of them have the heedless charger trait, meaning they won't wait for orders to simply charge headlong into battle. Perhaps they seek to find glory in their leader's eyes.
Da fehlt aber auch noch das Blut, ne? Das muss man bestimmt wieder extra kaufen.
Or maybe they're simply emulating an anger they've seen from him all too often. Tausret's forces truly showcase the devastating power of chariots. The speed and range of the chariots at her disposal mean they can cause a lot of damage to the enemy, whilst staying out of harm's way. That's not to imply that she only has chariots, however. Tausret's infantry offerings, such as the steadfast Queen's Guard, have excellent defensive capabilities and the speed to get to where they're needed as soon as possible. As talented as the archers in Tausret's army are, very few can compare to the forces that Amenmes's deep pockets can buy. The Kushite, Nubian, and Tarseti archers are among some of the most skilled and most feared in all of Egypt. With excellent range and devastating attacks,
Ja gut, wenn er das Gold hat, dann kann er sich natürlich auch die besten Truppen leisten, ne? Ist ja auch ganz klar.
archers Amenmes can field are an immediate threat to any force. The melee units within his
Diese nubischen Bogenschützen, die scheinen sehr gut zu sein, was ich da eben gesehen habe. Wenn wir das nochmal kurz zurückspulen. Nubian Mercenary Bowman. Ja. Ich glaube, die sind ganz in Ordnung. Die können sich sogar ein bisschen im Nahkampf verteidigen.
threat to any force. The melee units within his retinue, including the Kushite Royal Guard, also have a
Die Royalgarde. Die hat aber auch Fernkampfwaffen. Ja, also die kann beides. Ja. Die kann sowohl Fernkampf einsetzen als auch in den Nahkampf. Khopesh and Shield Infantry.
ferocious bite, making Amenmes's forces a terrifying sight indeed. We've covered the leaders you'll command and their motives, the armies they'll control, and the forces that await to join under their banners. There are dark days ahead. With the collapse of the Bronze Age on the horizon, how will you ensure that your people and your empire
Ja, ich glaube, wenn man die alle konföderiert und vereint, dann hat man, glaube ich, schon ein mächtiges Ägypten zusammen.
survive this apocalyptic event? With what we've covered in this video, we hope you're inspired to become a great pharaoh that history would be proud of. Are you ready to take on the mantle of pharaoh?
Oh, das Video war dennoch sehr unterhaltsam. Hat nochmal einen tieferen Einblick gezeigt in Ägypten. Und ja, ich glaube, die Armeen, die werden sich wirklich alle komplett unterschiedlich spielen lassen, wobei dann wiederum da die Vielfalt fehlt. Ne? Also wir haben ja zum Beispiel keine Kavallerie und so, ne? Das ist dann wieder auch etwas Negatives daran. Gut, ja, ich bedanke mich bei euch fürs Zuschauen. Hinterlasst auch mir gerne ein Like und ein Abo und dann sehen wir uns wieder im nächsten Video oder im Livestream.